Hi, everyone. Welcome to Nancy's Metaphysical World and Beyond. My name is Nancy, and I host the show. And today we're going to have a guest on who can be quite controversial with what he has to say, and I'm going to bring him on so we don't hesitate. His name is Stephen Sindoni. Hello, Stephen. How are you?
Yes, Nancy. Good afternoon, and thank you for having me on today.
You're very welcome. Now, Stephen, you on your website, it's youtube.com, and then it's your last name, Productions, and that's Sindoni Productions. You make a lot of comments on your website, and some of them I'm surprised haven't been shut down, but, you know, this is the freedom of speech, they tell us. So I'm going to ask you some questions, but before I do, Stephen, can you tell the listeners a little bit about who Stephen is and what started you on your trail of investigating all these wonderful happenings going on in our country today?
Well, it started out, I was a regular guy. It goes back to 1998. I was recently divorced at the time, and I was in Montreal, Canada, really minding my own business, going out to Canada to spend the Labor Day weekend out there in 1998. So I'm going to cut right to the chase and share with you that after visiting the Saint Laurent nightclub on the Wax Lounge nightclub on Saint Laurent Street, I went into my car, and it was raining that night, and I passed the police sobriety check. The police asked me a couple of questions, and they let me go through the sobriety check. But a couple blocks after I got past the check, a Ford Aerostar van forced me over to the side of the curb, and two men got out of the vehicle. And one of the men walks over to my vehicle, and he approaches my car, and he calls me Muhammad. So obviously I said, Muhammad, my name's not Muhammad. It was a case of mistaken identity. A second man gets out of the van holding a semi-automatic rifle put in my face. The first man then asked to search my car. So I said, absolutely not until you show me some identification. So he reluctantly, Nancy, reveals a photo ID with his picture on it. And next to his picture was a photo of the emblem of the Jewish menorah, and it said the words Mossad. So the next thing I did is I handed him my ID, and I said to him, by the way, I'm an American. I said, what I'd like to know is I just got stopped by the Montreal police who told me I was able to go through the sobriety checks. Obviously, I know who the police are in this country. You are operating for the Israeli Mossad, like the CIA of Israel. What are you doing stopping me at 2 o'clock in the morning calling me Muhammad? So he smirked at me as the other man held the automatic rifle in my face and said, oh, so you're an American? I said, yes, I'm an American. So he then said, well, we want to search your car. I says, only if I can watch. So I opened up the doors, and the fellow with the submachine gun went around, and he did his due diligence to look through my car. And then when I got done looking through my car, he asked me to open my trunk, which I did. Now it's raining like the blazes, 2 o'clock in the morning here on this deserted street. So he said to me, where's your luggage? I said, my luggage is back in my hotel where it's supposed to be. Well, what are you doing in Canada? I said, I should ask you the same question. What are you doing in Canada? So again, he has a smirk on his face, speaking in the King's English, which I was pretty surprised, because first he had an Arabic accent when he called me Muhammad, and then all of a sudden he spoke the King's English and says, well, since the USS Cole bombings, we've been looking for terrorists here in Canada, and you fit the profile. So at that point, I was livid. I fit the profile. I says, you stopped me at 2 o'clock in the morning. I'm minding my business. Are you telling me because I have New Jersey license plates and I'm in Canada and I'm by myself that I fit the profile terrorist? I said, I tell you what, are you done searching my car? So the other fellow nodded to him. They then gave me back my license, and they allowed me to leave. The following morning, I went back to the U.S. Customs at the border of Montreal, and the first thing I did was I parked my car and told the U.S. Border Customs about what happened. They listened to my story, Nancy, attentively, and they said they were going to check into it. They said these men obviously were operating illegally and that they didn't know what was going on, but it was kind of strange. This was back in 98 now, in September. Right after I get back to New Jersey, where I lived at the time, I now found myself under surveillance, and this was back in 98.
Okay, so this
back
is in 98.
This is back in 98. So now I'll just fast forward the story. So then I'm watching, this is now in 2001, December 27th, I'm watching a broadcast. Well, I'll back up a second. The year later, in 1999, I tried to go back into Canada to visit the country on that summer of 99. I was detained at the border for 3 hours and told they would not let me into the country. And so they turned me back at the border, which I couldn't figure out why. I've been there 8-9 times before. And I was going to see the Mets play the Montreal Expos at the Exhibition Stadium. So I told them, look, I'm going to see the game. Do you want to see the tickets, whatever? No, you know, we're just not letting you in the country. So for 3 hours, they wouldn't let me in. So what I ended up doing is I spent like 3 or 4 days up in Plattsburgh, New York, and this was in the summer of 99. So here it is at 99, I wasn't allowed back into the country. So now, on 2001, we've got the events of the World Trade Center, and then 3 months later, on December 27th, ABC News, NBC, and all the big affiliates show photos of 5 men who apparently the FBI were looking for. That in the FBI posting in the FBI.gov said 5 men illegally entered into Canada from country wanted for questioning for 9/11. So I get a look at these 5 photos. All of a sudden, I go, bullseye. There's 2 of the guys who stopped me in 98. So the next day, Nancy, I call up the FBI in Pennsylvania, which is where I was living. The FBI tells me on the phone that I must be mistaken. So I pick up the phone. I call the FBI in New York. They give me the same cock and bull story that I'm mistaken. 2 days after that, someone breaks into my home, and they get into my computer to get the photos of the men that I claim stopped me in Montreal. So thereafter, I'm being followed back and forth to work, and I'm saying, what the hell is going on? Here I am trying to help the FBI, the government, the customs officials stop a supposed terrorist action by a group that I could identify as the Israeli Mossad, who called me Mohammed. Now, after 9/11, they were looking for the lead hijacker, who happened to be named Mohammed Atta, which later was revealed, Nancy, that there was a terrorist cell group that they believe were operating in Montreal and also in Paterson, New Jersey. Now, I had New Jersey license plates. I just happened to be at the wrong place at the wrong time, and I got caught up in suspense that is more out of an enemy of the state type of a movie,
It sounds like it. So let's ask a couple questions. I mean, because you have a YouTube, and it's got some pretty interesting things on it, okay? And I know people are going to take a look at that and go, man, this guy's got to be off the deep end. Nobody would be saying the things he's saying if he wasn't. So you have done a lot of investigation. And we'll go back to the Mount Shasta, because that kind of is important, too, with what our supposedly media truth that comes out to the people is. Because the things they put out about what you found out at Mount Shasta were not really what the media was talking about. Is that true?
That is correct.
Okay.
When I'm a writer, I was forced now to live outside of the box. I couldn't find a regular job. My Social Security number was expunged. Every time I would fill out an application, all of a sudden the company couldn't find it in the database. I was subjected to close surveillance, mind control type of things. I was even hit with microwave type of weapons. And I've had other people to validate this as well. But in all the course of this, my belief in spirituality has got me through this. But in the course of all this, I decided, you know what, no one's going to believe this unless I write about it. So I started writing about it. I said, but you know what, the only way I can fight back, Nancy, is to be a true investigator, to go through every conspiracy, everything that I could find to prove that there is a secret society that has been operating for the longest time that are controlling things. And I needed to wake up the people and say, you know what, if I'm outside of the box, you know what? God doesn't give you anything more than you can handle. God gave it to me for a reason. And I realized, and I heard, you know what? You need to do this. You need to get everything out there and let people believe 50% of what you say, but investigate the other 50% to discern, to learn the truth. And if they do that, they do their diligence. It's like the parachute. The mind doesn't work, Nancy, unless, it's like a parachute, unless it's open. So let me put things out there. But prefacing back to the Mount Shasta thing, there was a 75-year-old legend, and we're referring now to the legend of J.C. Brown. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, I discovered that as a man shows up in 1934 in the office of the Stockton Record claiming that he had found a Lemurian civilization living on the Mount Shasta when he was up in Mount Shasta in 1904, 30 years earlier, working for the Lord Cowdray Mining Company as a prospector. I took the 7 or 8 clues that I learned in the legend, went to the New York Public Library at the time, and decided I'm going to run down these clues, and based on these 7 or 8 clues that I find, I'm going to see if I can find a Lord Cowdray Mining Company, someone who worked there for 30, 40 years like the legend claimed, and find anything that will pertain to this individual claiming to be Lord Cowdray. Well, lo and behold, there was a Lord Cowdray Mining Company. I did find a Lord Cowdray. I did find that Lord Cowdray, I found border crossings of him coming in through Mexico with 3 or 4 other men. I was able to then go to the New York Public Library and get an autobiography of Lord Cowdray, but found out that he died in 1927, so he could not have been the man who shows up in 1934 in the editor's office in the Mount Shasta newspaper. I then looked at all his lieutenants who worked for him, and lo and behold, I found 4 men, and out of the 4 men, there was a man who matched description, matched the profile, who was also worth $40 million, as it said in the original legend, who I tracked through Mexico with J.B. Body on 2 occasions, just like it said in the legend. I was able then to get his photo and to follow all the information, and also to figure out how they went from Mexico up to Shasta, what train they took, and what he was doing in Mount Shasta to find this backdoor of entrance to Lemuria. And it happened, you know, in the most precarious type of a way. So I then, after I discovered it on paper, I then went out, Nancy, to California to actually find it physically. And as I got from New York, I went to take the bus to California across, and as I did, I was followed across the whole country, almost stabbed in the Midwest. Someone tried to get me arrested for drugs, which didn't happen, luckily. And then finally, when I got to California, I was almost killed again, all trying to stop me to get to Shasta so I could look for this tunnel. Now, I had a map that I believed where I could find Lord Cowdray and J.B. Body's backdoor to Telos. I was able to find the actual location because they were staying at that time at the Shasta Springs Hotel. And this was an elite property where only the rich would stay, and it now, if you remember Shasta water, the greatest water in the world, but people would go there from all over the world, get off the train to go there to partake in this water and stay at this resort. Not far from the resort is where I found the back door which leads to the underground civilization under Mount Shasta.
Now, has other people found that also, or has it just been you?
I've brought a number of people with me who've seen it. They know where it is, and there's reasons why it's been kept secret. It's on private property, so people can't get to it. You'd have to trespass to get to it, and that's how I found it. There were other people who told me when I was looking for it, who lived nearby in the surrounding area off the Sacramento River there, that I was dead on point, and they told me that I was going to find it, what I was going to find, what it was going to look like, and I was even going to find hieroglyphics or petroglyph-type rocks with a face marking on it when I found it. And just as they told me, there it was, and I found it with the actual markings as one of the men had described it. I would find it.
Okay,
now,
so
after
that
I found this,
kind of proved. Go ahead.
After I found this, I decided I was going to share it with the newspaper in Mount Shasta, which I did. So Charlie Unkefer of the newspaper interviewed me about it. As soon as I told Charlie where it was and why it was and what I just told you, he knew that I was right on point with it. And I was followed every day in Mount Shasta when this was all going on. And so I decided, you know what, I'm going to do my own TV show in Shasta. So I decided to go to the college there, the COS College, and do a show called Legend, Mystery, and More, and show that legend and other legends in my series. I figured, well, I'll do at least 12 shows based on legends of Mount Shasta and show the legend of J.C. Brown and other things I had discovered while I was there. Because while I was there, I also discovered at places like Hedge Creek Falls that there were ancient petroglyphs that were hiding on a rock right in plain sight, that when I told the U.S. Forest Service, they looked at me like, well, don't tell anybody. What do you mean don't tell anybody? It's right there, you know, in a state park, and you don't want to acknowledge it, it's there? Because the reason this find was so significant, Nancy, is because it proves that this rock is over 1 million years old, that there was intelligent life in California that went to Hedge Creek Falls there, and it shows a face on the rock. Now, you've got Buddhists that come all the way across from China and India to Hedge Creek Falls for ceremonies to marry each other, because this is one of the most ancient sites in the world. So some of the stuff that I was able to discover, you know, is stuff that the government definitely would not want out there, because what it does, it blows up the existing paradigm with the 12,000-year timeline for religion.
Which would be very true. But see, the thing is, Stephen, is that a lot of the things that you're finding are actually going to be proven probably between now and the end of 2013. And people are probably going to have a very hard time wanting to believe everything, but the information is going to be so blatant that they can deny all they want, but it's going to be so blatant that a lot of the stories that had been out there are finally going to be proven to be very, very factual. And when that happens, especially for you, because you're already being followed, what do you think will happen to you after that?
Well, right now, I think I have an insurance policy right now that I've got helping me. When I came back to New York, my brother was sick in the hospital, and my mom wanted me to care for my brother. So as I came back to New York, I was being followed, more helicopters, more surveillance, 20, 30 people a day. And I said, you know what? I got to flush them out. So what I decided to do, I just written the movie Stop Marconi, and it's on my website. It's a comedy about surveillance, what really happened to me. But I figured, no, let me put it out as a comedy. So I said, you know what? I'm going to flush out whoever's really watching me. So I created a sign saying Stop Marconi. It was a walking billboard. And I went into New York City on Times Square, where all the theater district is, and I walked up and down for 2 weeks with this sign on in prime time so everybody could see what my movie was, see it on YouTube for free. When I was walking around, I had agents ripping the sign off me so people couldn't read it. So I would then refix the sign, cut it, or retape it, get it back on. And I said, you know what? After 2 weeks, then I walked down in front of Madison Square Garden, and lo and behold, who do I have following me? The FBI director, Robert Mueller, and his assistant, James Demarest, right in front of Penn Station. So very calmly, I turn around. I took off my sign, I folded it up, and I put it away in some rubber bands I had. And I take the photos of James Demarest behind me. I get 3 photos, 1 from the side and 2 from the front, just to make sure I've got him. Then I walk down 40 feet, and there's Robert Mueller standing right next to me, next to the cigarette candy concession stand by the Pennsylvania Station, with a smirk on his face, Nancy, that if looks could kill, I'd be dead 10 times over. So I smiled at him, because I knew who he was, and I snapped 3, 4 of his photos. Well, he didn't realize that I got his photos. So what I decided to do after that is, okay, now let me put up some videos on my Sindoni Productions, and I'll air out the assistant director to dry, and I'll hang him by his short hairs, and to show that these guys have not only been stalking me, following me, but I've got their pictures to prove it. And then I went on and put up some other videos about Robert Mueller, because he's directly the reason why, after I came forward in 2001 to told them that I was called Muhammad Atta by these Israeli agents in Canada, that I've had the last 10 years of my life, being under surveillance, watched, and all the things I've mentioned. So I hold him personally accountable. And the reason why you say to me, well, how come they haven't done anything to me? Because I got them. They don't have me. I have more on them than they have on me. And the new things I put out, Nancy, is just now more fuel for the fire, because I will, after this show's over, I will take a polygraph test. For everything that I've said, I will take a polygraph test. And I will, in Times Square, I would go to Times Square. I'd come to New York, Times Square, wherever, and I would debate Robert Mueller or the assistant about anything that I've claimed, and then I would ask them to answer my charges, also take the same polygraph test. But you know what you'd find out? That they won't challenge me.
Well, see, normally, Stephen, and people who are listening know this, normally if somebody is into things like you are, they find ways of making them disappear. Doesn't matter if you have pictures, doesn't matter what you have. They have ways of making you disappear. And
that's right.
Again, doesn't matter if you have pictures, doesn't matter what you have. They have ways of making you disappear. And
that's right.
Again, usually when people know there's been pictures taken of them or even suspect there's been pictures taken of them, they usually confiscate whatever that person is carrying and nobody ever sees them. So how did you get away with that?
On that thought, they've been in my house, my apartment. They've gone through my things to look for it. They didn't find it. They've sent agents out trying to steal my password from my YouTube or close my email accounts or get all my emails so they can get all the photos that's already out there. I have like 400 videos, whatever I've got. They want to get them all off the Internet. They haven't figured out a way to do it because I've outsmarted them along the way. They've tried everything that you said, Nancy, but I stayed 5 steps ahead of them because I was born at night, Nancy, but it wasn't last night.
Which is probably a good thing. Now, there's some other things that are pretty controversial on your YouTube site, and we're going to talk about those too. Because, again, people are going to look at that and go, this guy's got to be some kind of a nut. There's no way he could have all this information and on and on and on and on and on. Because I really, truly believe that the American people have been totally brainwashed by the media and whatever else they're listening to. And so I do have problems with some of the things that we don't hear versus the things that we should hear. So let's go to the one that you talk about, Bush and Nazi connection. Let's talk about that one a little bit.
That's an interesting story. I'm in Olympia, Washington about a year and a half ago, and a friend of mine, Renee from L.A., said, Stephen, take a look at this video. Tell me what you think. And I watched that video that you're mentioning. I go, it's pretty damning evidence. I said, let me go research it for a couple of days. So I go over to the library at Evergreen College, and all of a sudden, I'm now being followed, and on the computer, people knocking me off, trying to look at certain stuff about Bush. So I said, you know what? Let me contact Eric Orion himself, the guy who came out in this interview, and ask him. And I did. He emails me back, and we have a dialogue for about 4 or 5 days. So after putting up the YouTube video, Renee got scared because they cut the brake lines of her car. And then someone took a shot at me. And she says, look, you better get this down. He goes, they're going to kill you. I know they want to kill you, but I don't want to die too. So she decided to take down the site. It was on her site, youtube.com/Renee from LA. And people can look at her site and see wondrous things that she does. So I said, you know what? You're right. Take it off your site. I said, I'm going to talk to him again and let him know that it was taken down. So I emailed him back. He pleaded with me, Stephen, if there's any way you can put it back on YouTube, please do. It's absolutely the truth. So I emailed him back, and I said, well, let me look at it again. I did. I put it up then on my Sindoni production site because I then went and I said, you know what, let me go in myself and see if I can find on the census for 1920 and 1930 George Herbert Walker Bush's name on the census report. Well, after checking it out, there was no birth certificate for him in the United States, nor was there any record of him on the census. What there was a record of all the other children for Prescott Bush, but not George Herbert Walker Bush. I have anybody who wants this, I can email them the proof that before he first president of the United States, George Herbert Walker Bush was really born George Scherf Jr., who is the immigrant son of George Scherf Sr., who was the accountant for Nikola Tesla. So this is some damning stuff about that. So this is George Bush is the first of 2 presidents who were not born in the United States who were cleared by the FBI to become president of this country.
Okay. And the reason why I ask is because, people are going to go look at this after we're done talking, I'm sure. So
I hope they do.
I have 2 people that are on the phone, and I do have to take their calls. I don't really know what they're going to ask, but we'll see. Is that okay with you?
That's fine.
Okay. So the first one, we're going to go with Gwen out of Massachusetts. Gwen, are you there?
Yes. Hi.
And do you have a question? I'm here.
Yes.
Do you have a question?
Yes, I would like to ask you a question.
Okay.
Is it possible to get a general reading for me?
Right this minute? I can't, but I will before we're off air. So hold on a little bit longer because I have one other call to see what that one's about, okay?
Absolutely.
So hold on, okay?
Sure.
So don't hang up, all right?
I won't.
Okay, well, the other person hung up. So I'm going to do a quickie for you because that's what you wanted, right?
Yes.
Okay, so real quick, I'm going to tell you there is a man around you, Gwen, that appears to go up and down a lot like a yo-yo, like a Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde. Is that true?
Yes.
Okay. Who is he to you? Is he a husband, boyfriend? What is he?
He's not a husband. He's not a boyfriend. He was a friend.
I don't know if I would consider him a friend and if I would trust him so much because as a King of Swords being a Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde, that means he can also be a user, a taker, and manipulator. So be very careful with that, okay?
Okay.
And then the next part is that you do have good judgment in your favor. So trusting yourself is very, very important. Don't listen to what other people tell you. Trust what you're feeling. Then you're coming up with choices and decisions that you need to make, but you don't necessarily like to make them. So, again, don't sit there and debate. Just trust yourself and make them get done with it. Once you do that, you come up with the Ten of Cups, which is good things happening, new life beginnings for yourself, and you end up with coming up with some more money. So all you got to do is be a little patient for about the next, say 3 to 5 months, and a lot of big, good changes should be happening for you. Okay, Gwen?
Okay.
All right, you take care. Thanks for calling.
Thank you.
Okay, we have you're very welcome. We have Mike on the phone. Mike, are you there? Nope, I guess he's not there. Okay, so, Stephen, I'm going to come back with you because, again, on your website there are some pretty good information, pretty good things going on. Okay, now, right on the very first part of your website, if somebody goes to that, to your YouTube site, the very first thing that pops up is the Globe paper. Now, everybody has... they buy the Globe paper because it always talks about all kinds of stuff. And people buy it for entertainment. People buy it because they really believe in it. But yours says where Obama was really born. Now, I know there's a lot of discrepancies going on about, the Obama birth certificate. But there's also a lot of different laws that's covering him. Okay, so what do you think about our President Obama?
Well, I think that the body of his work, for the most part, he's done some interesting things and good things. But I think that there are things in the shadows that needed to come out, and that's one of the things I learned in taking a closer look at him, that in 1998, it is my theory and my belief that he posed as Osama Bin Laden in one of the Taliban photos, and I make mention to it.
Okay. Now, do you have any kind of proof to be saying that? Because that's pretty. That's pretty serious.
Yeah, right. Well, here's the proof I have, and here's what I'm going by. The odds of two people having the same fingerprints are 1 in 64 billion, and this is according to Francis Galton in 1880. So the odds of two people having the same palmistry is probably about the same, 1 in 64 billion. I put up a photo there with one of the Osama Bin Ladens. Now, let me just explain to you this. The real Osama Bin Laden, because there was one, had liver problems. It was well noted that he had liver problems and kidney problems and was very, very sick. But in 1998, they got a man to pose as the real Osama Bin Laden, which I believe was Osama Bin Laden. This is one of those sick, skull and bone CIA tricks. And I believe that in this photo shoot, I'll call it, Obama had his hand up. And the palmistry looked so much similar to his hand that I started to look more and more at it. Now, many stories appeared around that time, around 2001, that the real Osama bin Laden had been dead, or in early December. Matter of fact, an Egyptian newspaper, Al Wafad, I guess, reported that bin Laden had died in mid-December. And so there was reports of that. In 2004, there was new bin Laden photos and audio that appeared with a different man entirely. And in 2007, more new bin Laden photos, which is different from even the second and third man. So here it is, we have 4 different photos of a person supposedly bin Laden. So this also got my attention. But in 2007, Benazir Bhutto was interviewed, and you can check this, by journalist David Frost on his show Frost All Over the World. At that time, she was christened supposedly Bin Laden. So this also got my attention. But in 2007, Benazir Bhutto was interviewed, and you can check this, by journalist David Frost on his show Frost All Over the World. At that time, she was quoted as saying that Bin Laden was dead. 7 days later, Benazir Bhutto was put under house arrest in Karachi, Pakistan, and then a month later, on December 27th of 2007, she was assassinated in nearby Rawalpindi, Pakistan. Now, I believe she was silenced to keep the terrorist Taliban hoax alive, and I'll tell you why. War is big business. Titan, Khaki, Halliburton, KBR, and Blackwater are in Iraq right now, supposedly rebuilding Iraq and Afghanistan. You've got right now a soldier, when his clothes get dirty and soiled, for $3 normally you can wash your clothes, but he's told to take his dirty clothes to KBR and they'll wash his clothes, but then KBR bills the government $99 for his load of dirty laundry. So my point to you is, as long as these contractors can be in Iraq, Iran, Afghanistan, wherever, making all this money, they're going to continue this make-believe war on terrorism, because 300 years ago, it was the imperialists we were fighting, 200 years ago. Then it was the communists. Well, when there was no more communists, what did they do, Nancy? They created the terrorists. And in 2 years from now, when we go to 2012, and when things change in spirituality, when we go into the next shift, they'll then be after the spiritualists. So what's next? Because there always has to be an enemy. This country cannot exist. Capitalist society cannot exist, Nancy, without a common enemy. And I will finish this point. $7 million a day is being spent in 100 bases all over the world that taxpayers could have back here. Just like Canada, we could have socialized medicine if we simply brought back all the troops back to the United States and stopped all this nonsense. We wouldn't have to pay for health insurance. And this is my point. We need to stop the world right now from this madness, because we need to take it back. Because 2 days ago on the news, you see the president of Poland and 95 other high-ranking officials in his government have their plane go down. Now, supposedly they're telling you it's bad weather, but here's my point, Nancy. What if I'm right that a situation like this, these people, another terrorist act, where these people were like, whole government now is like in chaos because they'll never find the black box. But it's going to take somebody like me, Nancy, to be outside of the regular line of information to say, you know what if I'm right? I'm not, Nancy, I'm not crying wolf in any of this, but what if I'm right?
Yeah, if you're right, there will be a lot of people, like I said, who are going to have a very tough time, listening to the facts, taking the facts in and accepting the facts. People send me emails all the time. They send me all kinds of things about everything going on in the world, which I find very fascinating. One of the things that was sent to me was how they compared Obama with Osama. And, and they broke it down piece by piece, picture by picture. And yes, they do look very much alike as it's all broken down. But Osama was very, very tall, and Obama is not.
Well, exactly. So and here's my point. All you've got to do, it's like the smoking gun theory in the Kennedy assassination. If I can prove that there was a shooter behind the grassy knoll, I can prove a conspiracy, correct?
Right.
Okay. I know who the shooter was behind that grassy knoll fence was, but he'll never go down for his crime for being that shooter. But what I will tell you is, you can go on Google right now and find 5 different people who posed, four plus the real Osama Bin Laden, who posed as Osama Bin Laden. You can go on right now. You can go on my site, and I'll show you at least 3, and you've got the Obama as the 4th one. But if I'm right, and he posed in that one picture in '98, then I prove that this is all a terrorist scare tactic to keep wars going. He only he only had a pose in one cameo shoot.
That would be true. There was another another thing that I saw after the bombing of 9/11, which surprised me because it was only shown one time and one time only, and it was never, ever seen again. And it was supposedly a video of Osama Bin Laden going to meet with some people. And the video was being interpreted by somebody that was not for the government, not for them, just a normal, everyday person who happens to speak Islamic. And the interpretation of it as what Osama was saying was, they told us it was going to be on Thursday. Now, that was seen one time and one time only. And I know I didn't imagine it because I'm pretty much grounded. But I remember that, and I'm thinking, well, if they told him it was going to be on Thursday, he is not the one that ordered it. He may be the one who trained them, but he is not the one that ordered it. And for a long time, he constantly denied that he did not do it. And yet he was still made, the public made to think that he did do it, that it was him, and that he had connections with, other people. And so that's when all the war had to happen.
Well, Nancy,
now,
I also very interesting with you. When the World Trade Centers went down, I did a study of who did the actual cleanup for the World Trade Center towers. And this is interesting for you. The name of the company was Controlled Demolition Incorporated out of Virginia. I sent the CEO a letter, an email, saying, I know what you did. I know what you're a part of. I know you put explosives throughout the building, every so many floors, to detonate the World Trade Centers. 10 minutes after I sent the CEO this email, they shut down my Hotmail account.
Yeah, they have a tendency to do things like that, but I find it fascinating, Stephen, that your YouTube stuff is still up with all the things.
It's up because I don't say anything. I don't use any four-letter words. I don't use any profanity. I just tell the truth.
And like I'm saying, some of them on there people are going to find hard to swallow as the truth. But again, I'm not saying that you're wrong, and I'm saying people really should listen to them because, like you said, what if you are right? What if it is true? I mean, people should be thinking. I got something for you
right now, Nancy. What did you have for breakfast?
I ate pancakes and bacon.
Okay, while I was having my eggs and toast, right outside my window, I had 2 helicopter flybys with a helicopter making 7 passes and then flashing its high beams at me to let me know, we know you're going on the air today. That's what I had for breakfast today.
That's a good breakfast. You should have just flashed back and said, yes, you're right, I will be.
Well, no, I was going to show them the pimple on my behind and say, you know what, can Obama fix this too?
Yeah, well, it's amazing how there have been so many cover-ups. I mean, because I did have David Icke on, and a lot of people know David Icke, and he does say the same things that you're saying, may not be exactly word for word, but, pretty much the same. He talks about the secret society, which a lot of people still do not believe that there is one going on,
well,
and my thought is I've always... Go ahead.
I've got one for you, Nancy. I'm in California. I'm doing my show, right, in the studio. They send an engineer in to sabotage my show while it's being aired, telling me that the files I gave him to run my shows, all of a sudden they're missing. But he's the only engineer working with me. So I told the producer of my show, Arthur, I said, Arthur, you stay outside in the studio. I said, I'm going to be talking to this guy, Dana, by myself. Clear out the engineer room. I sat next to him. I said, pal, I know who you are. I know what you're trying to do. You're trying to ruin my shows. If you don't get my show aired, you can't make this DVD work. Then run the camera. I'll talk about 9/11. Go tell your bosses. He looked at me because I know who you are. He took a cigarette break, went outside, talked to somebody, came back in, and mysteriously he was able to figure out how to get my Legend of Mystery and More show working on the air that day.
Okay. Now, hold on again because I have a couple people online, and I do have to take those calls only because I tell them that I will. So everybody keep that thought because we're going to come back and talk about some more conspiracy facts. All right. So, Mike, are you there?
Hello?
Hello, Mike? Are you?
Yes, hello.
Mike? Okay, do you have a question?
Yes, well, I wanted to know what was going to happen with my relationship.
Well, does the relationship that you're with, is the person kind of moody up and down like a yo-yo?
Yes.
Okay, why would you want to have a person like that?
I mean, it wasn't always that way. I think I caused some problems. Yes.
Okay. Why would you want to have a person like that?
I mean, it wasn't always that way. I think I caused some problems with the relationship.
Okay, well, because the very first card up is a lot of stress going on, and this person kind of going up and down like a yo-yo with their mood swings. So unless you guys talk through everything, and I do mean everything, it's probably not going to work, only because one of you are not as forgiving as the other one and not trusting. So whichever one that is going on, if it's not talked through and you can work through that, it's probably not going to turn out really well. Okay? Because you come up with a defeat card.
You said that someone's not communicating?
Well, you need to talk more through everything to find out really where you each are, because apparently the person who's being moody has got something going on, and they're either not talking about it or they don't want to talk about it, which is going to make your relationship not work. Because then you're going to guess, and our normal human tendency is to guess negative. So you'll guess negative unless the other person talks. And then once they do talk, that's when you guys can decide what you want or don't want.
Hold on, you said the other person has something going on?
I said the other person is holding on to some things that need to be talked about, and until they're talked about, the relationship will not work.
There is some issues that the person said they want time. That's why I called to ask if I don't know what would happen with that situation, because the person said they wanted some time, and I don't know. I just kind of wanted to get like an answer. I'm impatient.
Well, the thing is, like I'm telling you, if you want the relationship to get a little better, the communication has to be there. If that does not happen, it is not going to work. You can stay together. It won't be happy, but you can stay together. People do that all the time. Doesn't mean it's going to work. So the communication is really important. So if you want something to work, you're going to have to do the communication. Okay?
Okay.
Good luck. Good luck. Thanks for calling. Bye now.
Yeah.
Stephen, we have another caller on the line. I got to take her, and we'll see what she wants. And then I still have some questions for you before we're going to go off here. So just hang with me, okay? Renee, are you there?
Yes, and I agree what he says. And I'm very interested because I saw it before it happened many, many times. Also, what should I do to get even clearer communication with my guides and my angels so I can hear them and not doubt myself?
Relax is the first thing, and breathe. Because unless you can relax and breathe, you're actually limiting the communication. And it's going to happen for you, Renee, because you come up with the Sun and the Ten of Cups, which are both really, really good cards. I know you're disappointed because it hasn't really been what you want it to be just yet, but don't think so much. You've got to get yourself relaxed and just let it flow. The other thing you can do is do automatic handwriting. A lot of times that works, and the way that works is that you hold the pencil or pen in the opposite hand that you normally write with, and you just say, okay, what am I supposed to learn today? Or you can say, okay, who are you? You can ask them any question you want, and if they're ready to tell you, it's going to come out in that automatic writing, and you have nothing to do with it. And you're going to know that it's automatic writing because, like, the will be there instead of just one there'll be two thes, or some words that you would never use will come up. So that will be your indication that you are getting it. And then relaxing and breathing is the next step to really, open yourself up and allow it to happen. Okay?
Okay, that'll be interesting when I start to relax. Thank you very much.
Gotta try, okay?
I will.
All right, you take care. All right, thanks for calling. Bye now. And then, Terry, are you there?
Yes, I'm here.
And do you have a question?
Yes, I do. I have been, would love to find my soulmate or the person I'm going to be with. I'm just confused, about if there's even a time frame and if it's something I'm supposed to release and not think about and let it go, or if it's something I'm supposed to focus on, or I just don't know, if I'm never supposed to think about it. I just don't know what to think. And I just wanted some guidance with that. You hear so many things like, let it go, will come when you don't expect it. No, you need to focus on it and have the universe send it to you. And it's something from the depths of my soul that I truly desire more than anything in my life, and I'm just not sure how to go about it, if it's going to happen, if it's something 20 years away that I should just let go for now. Do you know what I mean?
I know what you mean. Here's the thing. You've got yourself so worked up that you're not going to get it right now anyway, okay? Because it come up with interference and worry. So you're worried it's not going to be. So you need to change that worry to positive thought. And here's the best way to do it, Terry. What you're going to be saying to yourself every day, at least once a day, and I don't care how many times a day, but once a day, how great it is. I am in this wonderful, happy, caring, loving relationship with the right person now. Now, did you understand how I said those words?
Yeah, I'm writing it down. I am in this happy, caring, loving relationship
with the right, and capitalize right, R-I-G-H-T, right person now. Okay?
Okay.
Just start to do that and let the rest go, because you really got yourself too worked up, and energy, unless it's a really good positive energy, only keeps bringing the negative energy to you. So try saying that positive affirmation and say it with meaning, like it's already here, like now, and then you should be able to end up meeting him, okay?
You know, real quick, is that going to happen this year, or do you have any sense of that? Or
well, the thing is, as long as you keep yourself so worried and uptight about a time frame, because, see, the universe knows no time frame, so until you let go of the time frame, it could be whenever, okay? Just, make the statement, believe it's already happening, and relax. Relax, okay? All right, take care.
Thank you very much. Bye.
Bye now. Okay, now, Stephen, we have a comment from a listener, from a person on the phone, so I'm going to bring the person on. I don't know what they're going to say. So, Patricia, are you there?
Yes. I just wanted to thank the guy for the work he's done, and to just encourage him to continue on. I've been reading a lot about the New World Order and all of the stuff he's talking about. And, and for him to have strength to continue on. And just thank you for the show.
Well, you're very welcome.
Thank you for
and
those
thank
words.
you for the comment.
Well, there for the grace of God go I, Patricia and Nancy. I do my spiritual work every day, and that's the reason why I've been able to rise above the situations that I've been through all these years, because it's a lot for any man to handle. And but I've been given the task. No one wanted a job, so to speak, so I took it on. So the reason why they haven't closed my YouTube sites, they haven't closed the information, because they can't. I have spiritual help from the realms above. I am being guided. I am being given information. I have so many videos of certain things. All I have to do is ponder a situation and meditate on it, and I am given it within 48 hours. I am given where to look, where to find it, what to do, and get the information. The difference between knowledge and wisdom is knowing where to look next. They give it to me. And, Nancy, you probably can understand that. And that's why I am such a big thorn, because I already see the outcome. There was a singer, Phil Oakes, said, the war is over. You are what you believe, Nancy. I believe that I've won. I see the outcome already. I see the promised land, like Martin would say. And if today was my last day, Nancy, you know what? I got it out there.
Mm-hmm. Well, which is important,
Yeah, exactly. And I just wanted to let them know there are people out here listening and hearing you. And I'm very grateful for your tenacity and just being strong. So stay strong.
Thank you very much.
Thank you,
I appreciate that. It's funny, when I came up to West Coast last year, Nancy, I went to meet my friend Renee from L.A., and I met a spiritual Indian medicine man. I won't say what tribe he was from, but he knew I was coming. He had to come over to the house to meet me, and he said that he was going to protect me while I was on the West Coast. I met another Native American who also told me that he saw St. Germain over my shoulder and other ascended masters who were going to help me, because there was going to be a lot of people that were going to come after me. And so wherever I've gone on the West Coast, the Native Americans are spiritual people. They see that I do not walk alone. My brother was in a nursing home and a couple of months back, and one of the social workers said to me, you're not in this room in my office alone with me. I go, really? He goes, yeah. He goes, I see that you have somebody spiritual with you. Now, I didn't mention a word, didn't say anything whatsoever. All he knew was I was there to see my brother, who was in the hospital in the psych ward. But for whatever the reason, and a couple of months back, and one of the social workers said to me, you're not in this room in my office alone with me. I go, really? He goes, yeah. He goes, I see that you have somebody spiritual with you. Now, I didn't mention a word, didn't say anything whatsoever. All he knew was I was there to see my brother who was in the hospital in the psych ward. But for whatever the reason, I'm being guided. I'm not alone. And whoever these dark people are, I could put my finger on some of them. Their biggest thing is that I'm bringing them to light. Light is stronger than darkness. In 2 years, if we're right and this shift happens, those who believe will do their spiritual work are going to elevate, myself included, and all these things I brought to life is part of it to change the existing paradigm, and that was what I was given, because everybody's going to put their little piece in their little speck of sand into the bucket, so to speak. We're all going to fill it up. So I was given my task, which is a little different than somebody else's, but nevertheless, I took on that responsibility.
Mm-hmm. Stephen, give out your YouTube site for the listeners, please.
Okay, I have two similar sites, and the reason why is because anticipation of them shutting down my YouTube site. So one is youtube.com/Sindoni, Sindoni Productions, Productions, and the sister site is dailymotion.com/Sindoni Productions. Those of you also might want to see some of the surveillance. You can go to see my comedy movie Stop, S-T-O-P, Merconi, MERCONI.webs.com, and that will show you some of the surveillance, because I figured I'd put it out there. So those are three places that you can get to. And I'll even, if anybody wants to challenge the Bush information about, the validity of his birth certificate, and then you can contact me personally at SindoniSays@hotmail.com. But I forewarn you, I have emails being stopped, so I don't even get my emails. I have people outside the country or places who say, well, I've emailed you 3 times. Don't you answer your emails? So obviously, I'm putting it out there, giving a verified email that I will check on a daily basis. And if someone does want information from me, I'm not hiding. The FBI knows where I am. They want to send helicopters. They want to, they want to do whatever. You know what? I feel blessed that your taxpayer dollars are protecting me for the rest of my life.
Nice way to think of it. I have to answer a couple emails, and so don't go away just yet. This is for Susan, and it says she's met a man, and she wants to know if he's going to be a friend or a relationship, and the answer is not really, because you're going to get very bored, very discontented with him. He can be kind of up and down like a yo-yo, too. He may want something he's not going to. So as far as he goes, he would just totally be a friend and nothing else. But closer toward the end of summer is when somebody who will be halfway decent will start to come in for you. And EM from Connecticut, either in about probably after May is when you'll start to find job opportunities, and one especially that you're going to like between June and September that will pay you really good money. So kind of hang in there until then. I know it's kind of hard for people today, but, don't give up hope and keep going. And if you send out resumes, you need to follow them through. Do not just send them and leave them, because whoever keeps their face in front of everybody is probably going to get the job. And then Mara wanted to know what her career is going to be. You're coming out with more power, more energy, new life beginnings for yourself between now and the next 4 months, probably better than they have been all during this last year. You're also coming up that you're very lonely, but there's a lot of things going to be coming in for you, so don't be giving up and don't overthink. Everybody tends to do that. Keep yourself stable, and then you'll have a couple choices coming in as far as employment goes. So that's all, you guys, and thanks for sending your emails and your phone calls. Now, Stephen, one quick thing. We only have about 2 minutes, okay? 2 minutes. On your website, the one that we've been talking about, you also talk about and we mentioned this a little bit earlier, and that is the people who are trying to make this, and it's not in that words, but the one world order. Can you talk about that just briefly so people understand where that's coming from and what it's all about?
Well, it's all about control of the existing paradigm and to keep us all pretty much under their thumbs. I mean, they want to take away. Since 1933, this country has gone bankrupt. President Roosevelt sold this country out. This country right now is operating illegally. The laws right now all are against the original Constitution, the Bill of Rights, so they don't even exist. You've got the Federal Reserve Bank as a private company who's taking your money, which is against the Constitution. So we, the American people, have been fooled. These all in capital letters, creating all of us as corporations. Your marriage certificate, birth certificate, your driver's license, everything you get, your bank statement, is all capital letters, so that way they can then hold you in the court anytime they want and imprison you because you believe, you perceive that that is who they say you are in capital letters. I'm here to tell you, as a free sovereign being, this New World Order can't do jack if you stand up to them and say, you know what, I don't agree, I don't consent to, and I don't understand what you're trying to do. You are not acting legally, and you're not acting on my behalf, and I need to do away with you and all the people that you represent, because this is not a terrorist fascist state, and I refuse to succumb to your will.
That's very good. Now, I'm going to make two statements, and I just need kind of a yes or no answer because we're almost out of time. Do you think that between now and 2012, which is all these people worried about, that a lot of the truth about what our country has done and to everybody that it has done everything to will finally start to come out? Yes or no?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay.
It'll all come out. It'll all be revealed, and I think we're going to have people come out from the hollow earth, so to speak, and share with us and share what the real truth is, because if and when we have another nuclear problem with bombs blowing off, just like in 47, whatever, when UFOs hovered around the White House, and if for some reason there's another problem with a Third World War, you will see who the ancient masters were, who the people were who really, were from the beginning for this planet. There's a reason why the Native Americans are on reservations today, to keep the secret who, their forefathers really were. We are not alone in this universe, and a lot of things that are going to come out, and the existing paradigm is going to shift for those reasons and more.
Okay, and my theory is, so for all the listeners, this is a prediction I gave a long time ago, is that during the years 2010 through 2015, all systems that we know of are going to fail, and we're basically going to be starting all over. Not that the world is going to end, but the world as we know it. And do you agree with that real quick, yes or no?
I agree with that, and that's one of the reasons why most people who live in big cities are going to have a hard time when that does happen, because they're only going to know materialism, and those who have not done their spiritual work will be able to commune with nature, or to be able to sustainable, with their own food sources and stuff. And those people who are not able to do that will not be able to rise above and make that shift if and when that does happen. But it will happen within a couple of years. But you're right, we're coming close to it right now.
All right. Stephen, thank you for being on the show. It was great. I enjoyed the conversation, and good luck.
Nancy, thank you very much for having me again, and I hope to be on in the future with you, Lord willing, God willing.
We will. You take care. May God bless all of you. Have a great week. We'll see you next week. Bye now.